Super Welterweight Championship of the world. Introducing, in the blue corner, 3 times a world champion. He fights out of St. Joseph, Carolina in Puerto Rico. He weighs 152 1/4 pounds. The current WBC Super Welterweight Champion of the world, Wilfred Benitez. And in the red corner, a former lightweight and welterweight champion of the world. He is currently ranked the #1 contender for the Super Welterweight title. He fights out of Panama City, Panama. He weighs 152 1/2 pounds. Introducing the man with the hands of stone, Roberto Duran. 15 rounds of boxing.
Well, the crowd continues to be very much, Ray, in support of Roberto Duran.
Well, I think they reminisce back to his great days as a lightweight champion.
One thing I wanted to ask you, Ray, was Emil Griffith, who was not in the corner of Wilfred Benitez tonight, had been for a couple of fights, and he changed his punching style a little bit. He shortened up his punches. Did that help Wilfred Benitez, do you feel?
Oh, every little bit helps, Brad. But I think Benitez is such a natural, talented fighter that he has everything. He has all the qualifications, all the tools necessary to defeat a lot of fighters.
In a nutshell, Larry, Duran should be the aggressor. Benitez should be likely the counterpuncher.
I think the fight may tell whether Duran can get into Benitez and hurt him in the body. I don't think there's any question that Duran can't punch as hard in this division as he could in the lighter divisions. If he can get to the body and stay busy and stay on top of Benitez, who has never seen anyone with quite this pressure and speed. We'll see if he has his old quickness, and then also if he can sustain that pressure, or whether if he gets frustrated that suddenly he doesn't come as hard as he did earlier.
I think the question that he probably has to answer himself is, does he still have the ability to put his man away? He's had a couple of tune-up fights and he hasn't been able to do that really in either one. So we're just about set to go now. Everything that can take place before a championship fight has taken place, and all that is left now is to do it inside the 20-foot square ring. Benitez looks considerably more fit, actually, than he did in the last fight that we saw him against Carlos Santos.
He looks very toned, very trim.
He's a bigger man than Duran. He's grown into this division very nicely. He's just 23 years old. He's moved up about 12, 14 pounds since he won his first title at the age of 17. You'd have to say that this is a natural weight for him and that he would easily move up to a middleweight. Duran, of course, he's never fought a big fight at this weight yet. This is a little big for him.
Should mention the man, the white-haired man in the white shirt that you see in the center of the ring there is Ray Arcel at 82 years of age. He is back in the corner of Roberto Duran. Freddie Brown, his cohort, is not in that corner, and Roberto Duran, during the great years of Roberto Duran, subscribed to Ray Arcel and Freddie Brown's 4-point credo, which was, #1, the left is as valuable as the right if used correctly. #2, boxing is the art of hitting and not getting hurt. #3, it's not how hard you hit a man, but where you hit him, which of course is just what Larry Merchant was talking about. And #4, the speed at which you cut up an opponent is related to how efficiently you cut off the ring. Good points, you feel, right?
Very good points.
Arcel, believe it or not, is starting his 65th year as a trainer.
And he is one of the truly remarkable people that I have met in boxing. At 82 years of age, he's like being with a history book of the sport. Let's take a look at how these fighters measure up. They're very comparable. Duran, of course, 7 years older than Wilfred Benitez, even though from an experience point of view, Benitez is a very experienced fighter. Benitez, 2.5 inches taller than the challenger, Roberto Duran. The rate very comparable. The reach a little bit the edge to Benitez. That should not be any kind of a factor. So that is the tail of the tape. These fighters have fought a number of common opponents. 2 of them, of course, are right here with us. Sugar Ray Leonard, of course, beating Duran once, losing to Duran on another occasion, and beating Benitez by a 15th round knockout. Carlos Palomino losing to both fighters, Benitez in a 15-rounder, Duran in a 10-rounder. Emiliano Villa and and both fighters defeated him as well. So those are the common opponents, and right now it is the stare down in the center of the ring.
Step it on time.
Duran definitely looks very fit. Definitely as fit as I've seen him look. In fact, he looks very much like he did against you, Ray.
He looks very, very trim, and I'm quite sure he's ready.
There has been another factor, of course, and that is that Roberto Duran has had to trim down from 175 pounds or more on 9 different occasions, and that's got to take its toll on a man's body.
Well, it's going to be a filling out process. Benitez, very, very big, very solid as a junior middleweight, although Duran seems to be adjusting quite well now.
Long range center of the ring. Benitez up on his toes early in the first round here. That is Duran in the blue trunks, circling his man Benitez wearing the yellow trunks with the orange stripe, or red stripe, if you will. First round, 15 rounds for the Super Welterweight Championship. That is not perhaps as much a factor as what the future holds for either of these men.
Both men respect each other. I mean, there is a great deal of mutual respect between Benitez and Duran, and whoever lands the first big punch, they'll be more confident than the other.
That right hand not really doing any serious damage as it landed on the chest of Wilfred Benitez, thrown by Roberto Duran.
Both fighters are a little cold. There's not too much perspiration. And I think this fight here, the first round, something might happen.
A lot can be told in the eyes of Roberto Duran. So say many of his opponents. You have looked into those eyes, Ray.
Yes, Duran's eyes, I mean, they used to say his eyes are piercing and they'll scare you. I mean, I always felt if you close a man's eyes, he can't do much damage.
We are still in the first round. Duran has been the aggressor, although neither man really extending himself quite yet. And that is purely out of respect.
You know something, bro? I think that Duran, in a smaller weight, his punches are a lot more accurate, a lot quicker. I think at this particular weight, Benitez seems to be a little bit more relaxed, although he seems to be a little stiff in this first round.
Right hand to the kidneys of Benitez. Benitez quickly back with the left hand in the face of Roberto Duran. Benitez, it is not unheard of for Benitez to cut. Maurice Hope cut Benitez in a corner of each eye before Benitez knocked him out in the 12th round.
I predict someone will go down in this fight.
Early on here, Duran seemingly getting the better of things. Duran has not come directly at his man. In fact, he is circling his man a lot more than one might have expected here in the first round. And there's a right hand by Benitez that stunned Duran. Duran was stunned by that overhand right by Wilfred Benitez. And a left hand scores by Benitez, a right hand right behind it, behind the head.
Again, Barry, I said the first man that lands a big punch, he's going to go more and more confident.
Well, Benitez was the man who has landed the 2 most telling blows of the first round, despite the fact that Duran has been somewhat the aggressor, perhaps not as much as many might have thought.
Duran seems to be very sluggish to me his very first round. His punch is not sharp and crisp.
Lunging a little bit with his punches also. You can see him lunge with the left hand there.
I don't like what I see in Duran's eyes. As if the eyes tell something.
End of round 1, Larry.
In the measuring out process of that round, one of the surprises was that Duran did not come as hard at Benitez as you would expect. Let's take a look at the punch right here. Both standing, measuring each other, getting their distance. A straight right hand right on the button. Here it is from, as later in the round, we'll see a left hand that Benitez shoots out. Benitez very cool. Seems the quicker of the two. We don't have the punch there. We're in Duran's corner now. Wondering now whether all that training took a little bit out of Duran. Carlos?
He looked a little sluggish, and I'm really surprised that he didn't really come in and go hard at Benitez. He's moving around, and that's Benitez's fight.
Normally he comes out to intimidate an opponent, but he is showing his respect for Benitez.
Ray, while Larry Merchant and Carlos Palomino were discussing, you wrote one word on a piece of paper here.
Well, I think Duran's weak. You know, they say Duran has been able to maintain his weight around 152 for the past 3 weeks. This is not a common thing with Roberto Duran. Normally he makes the weight within a period of 3 or 4 days. I think he's a little weak, and that's the reason I think he's going to be sluggish throughout the fight. Unless he's able to land a big punch and build up some type of momentum.
He had a chance at a short right hand there and came up a little bit short as Benitez, and you've talked about this time and again, Ray, really manages to slip punches.
Very, very elusive. Benitez is a very good mobile boxer, and he's able to utilize the ring and very good balance.
I remember Customado, that trainer and manager of Floyd Patterson, used to say that Patterson used to watch a man's chest muscles, his pectoral muscles, and that allowed Patterson to slip punches as well as he did because the chest muscles are the ones that make the arms go. Combination that time by Roberto Duran.
I noticed time and time again, every time Duran throws a combination, he has a tendency to look in my direction.
He wants you, Ray. There's no question about it, but he's got one obstacle between himself and you right now, and that's the guy in the yellow trunks.
But I really believe my presence is a motivating factor for Duran.
Duran seems to be measuring Benitez when he gets him against the ropes. That's where he likes him. And in fact, Gregorio, his father, Benitez's father that is, has said that one of the things Benitez forgets from time to time is to keep his man in the center of the ring.
Well, Benitez is very good, especially against the ropes. And I think that's what he's trying to see whether or not he's effective against the rope with Roberto Duran.
There's a little bit of blood on the trunks of Wilfred Benitez. I haven't seen where that's from. Right hand to the kidney scores that time by Duran, who holds on now. Benitez gets a couple of punches in on the face of Roberto Duran. Duran again has Benitez on the ropes, and I would think that's where he wants it.
Yes, but again, Duran doesn't seem as strong as he normally would. Especially our first encounter in Montreal. Very, very strong. New Orleans, he was quite weak.
There's a good left hand by Benitez that snaps the head of Duran back once more. Duran missing a wild uppercut that time and ties Benitez up.
You know, there's a lot of unnecessary pressure upon Roberto Duran. He has to pretty much establish himself once again in the boxing world and also for his country.
Benitez looking to counterpunch here. He's back on his right leg. Wants Duran to come at him. And Duran is obliging him in this round. Duran trying to work on the body. Right hand missed that time by Benitez. But a left hand scores to the nose. It is Benitez who is getting the better of the action here.
Well, once Duran, once he lands his punches, his punches are not as clean and not as potent as they normally would be.
That left hand snapped the head of Benitez back, although Benitez was already headed back. And you can see the quickness defensively of Wilfred Benitez. A little bit of blood from the nose of Benitez, end of round 2.
That round was more like the fight we expected, Carlos, with Duran pressing the fight, putting him on the ropes. Benitez satisfied to stand there and trade with him.
That's true, you know, and I think that Ray might have been right about what he said. Benitez, I think, may have been trying to find out what Duran had inside. To me, it looked like Duran's punches were not that crisp inside. They don't look to be that hard. They have that snap on him, and then Benitez started retaliating. I think he was trying to find out what it is that Duran has. That's very quiet there. I didn't hear anything.
I think they think that Benitez is the master of his own fate and has things under control.
Angelo Dundee, as we start the third round, once said about Duran, he said, you can't stand in front of him and hit him with the right hand. He said, you may as well forget the right hand.
Duran is very, very slick. And speed will beat Duran. You have to feint him.
And Benitez is giving him everything he has right now. And another right hand scores by Wilfred Benitez.
I feel that this fight will not go to distance, maybe because of the way the pace is going these early rounds.
And Benitez is definitely the quicker of the two men. There's no question about that. Duran kind of wincing a little bit. Doesn't seem to be from any kind of pain. It's also not a smile. Jab of Benitez, snaps back.
I don't like the way Duran's coming in with his head down, not throwing any punches, not giving any touches of feint. You can't do this against a guy like Wilfred Benitez.
Benitez gets his counter punches off very, very quickly.
Benitez can make this fight very easily by just moving, throwing punches, and scoring points. Unless he gets a little cocky and takes Duran for granted and try to knock him out. Because a knockout comes so natural.
Once again inside, and Benitez did not get hurt by that punch of Duran's, nor by that one. Duran is missing a great deal, but Benitez scores with the right hand to the side of the head of Roberto Duran and snaps his head back with a left jab. Benitez seems to be, at least from an observation, seems to be right now in control of the pace of the fight.
Well, I think Benitez senses something in Duran. He doesn't sense Duran fight without rage. Normally he comes in, bored in, and once Duran's inside, Duran constantly throws punches. And you see here, Duran has Benitez against the ropes. He's not going to work. Something that you normally don't see with Duran.
This is the third round. Roberto Duran on the left of your screen in the blue trunks, Benitez in the yellow trunks. Benitez has had a little bit the better of it right now. His punches are crisper, they are quicker. Duran seems to be lunging a little bit. He has been missing an awful lot. He has had his man where he's wanted him, and there's a left hand right to the head of Duran by Benitez. Duran has had Benitez where he wants him, back to the ropes, and every time he has, Benitez has gotten the better of the action. Right hand by Duran misses, and the right hand by Benitez scores on the heart. And a left jab snaps the head back of Roberto Duran. And now it is Benitez who is the attacker, and Duran who is backing up.
Benitez knows fully well now frustration will be the key to Roberto Duran.
Benitez, that snapping jab and a right hand, and the legs buckled on Roberto Duran. There's a right hand above the eye. You can almost feel, Benitez feel that he has his man where he wants him. End of round 3, a good one for the champion.
Duran doesn't have it. I don't see anything in Duran.
Just saw that Benitez is gaining confidence. He feels he's stronger than Duran. He's landing all of the clean blows up to now. Let's get a look at that clean punch early in the round from Benitez. Keeping his distance, he's staying away, a left to the body, a very good left, and comes back with another light tap.
You know, one thing I noticed about the fight right now is that every time they... I'll finish my thought after. That was the right hand.
Lead right hand.
Every time they come together, Duran is the one that's stepping backwards. In the past, you always saw Duran pushing his opponent backwards. This time, he's the one that's being pushed backwards. I looked into his eyes, and he looked like he was confused, too.
There was a moment of confusion there toward the middle of the round.
So Duran comes out once more. Duran right now looking the part of a beaten fighter. Round 4, a lot of time to go. That jab snapping into the face of Roberto Duran. Neither man is marked. But Benitez has looked very sharp. It is a different Wilfred Benitez, to be sure, than we saw not too many months ago here in Las Vegas against Carlos Santos.
Okay, step back.
And again, 3 left hands, all of which score on Roberto Duran by Wilfred Benitez. One of the things that was said about Roberto Duran after the famous fight with Sugar Ray Leonard was that he cannot accept frustration. He just will not allow himself to be frustrated.
Continue to, what the fans at home should observe, watch Benitez set Duran up for the overhand right. He's being very, very patient. He flicks that left jab out, and at times comes across with that overhand right.
And that means watch the left hand of Roberto Duran. 2 left hands by Benitez score. If the left hand of Duran drops enough, the right can score.
Duran's not as quick as he used to be as a lightweight, and he can't afford to keep the left hand down that long.
Benitez is unquestionably the quicker. He has gotten his punches off much faster. He has missed very few punches. Looking very sharp tonight. Duran working hard, but ineffectively so far.
Again, but I still like the way Duran falls in without throwing anything. He just falls in with his hands down. You see his punches. I mean, there's nothing behind Duran's punches.
And again, Benitez just makes his opponent look bad. He makes his opponent miss. Very reminiscent of Muhammad Ali in his prime.
The way this fight is going now, it seems like there's a lightweight in there with a middleweight.
And the lightweight being Wilfred Benitez, uppercut, just misses. Panama Lewis in Duran's corner between the last 2 rounds was really exhorting his man, and we are going to try to eavesdrop in there between rounds this time. Once again, out is Benitez stalking Duran. Neither man is marked here. We're in the 4th round. comes up with a left hand and misses. There's the best punch of the fight by Roberto Duran. It did catch Benitez, and the knees wobbled a little bit. But Benitez comes right back with a right cross.
Well, every time Duran has a big punch, it's a little bit more and more confidence he's gaining. But as long as he's missing, he continues to get discouraged.
End of round 4 could have given Roberto Duran a psychological lift.
Well, he did get one punch in, but I think otherwise Benitez was in total command of that fight, of that round. Let's see if we can go into Duran's corner and see what he's getting from Ray Arcel. Ray Arcel doesn't speak Spanish, but according to the people around Duran, Duran understands boxing very well in English. The important thing here is that Duran has not been able to be the intimidator that he's used to being.
You know, I think that he looks a little weak to me. He might have left the fight in the gym. I think those 3 weeks of being in 152 might have hurt him.
I would agree, Carlos.
He looks a little bit puzzled, as a matter of fact. He has a furrowed brow kind of look. He did get one good punch in, but it didn't really seem to lift him psychologically as much as you might have thought it would. This is the 5th round. And people at this table are pretty much in agreement that this fight is not going to go the road.
Not the way Benitez is working the body now. I'm not taking things from Duran, but I just feel Benitez is on top of things.
That was Benitez with a left hand, not Duran. Duran misses with a right hand to the side of the head of Benitez. Benitez just makes his man miss. You can't talk about that enough. He's right there, and he looks like a giant target, and then he's not there. Wilfred Benitez. And Duran might have slowed down a step. Another right hand.
That right hand, I think it dazed Duran. Duran has the same facial expression on his face as he had with me.
Duran talking to Benitez saying, I'm okay, you didn't hurt me. But the facts belie the words. Appear to be moving quite as jauntily as he did in the first few rounds. Halfway mark, round 5.
You don't normally see this from Roberto Duran, moving away from the opponent. Duran is the macho guy. He comes to his opponent.
And that right hand lead, once again by Benitez, stunned Roberto Duran.
Okay, let's have it.
You can watch a fighter's legs and know pretty much what an effect a punch had. Right hand to the kidneys once again thrown by Benitez on Roberto Duran. Duran has not done any damage to Benitez here in this round. There's a right hand that does score, but Benitez again was backing out of there when it did score. Benitez, all business, expressionless. He is that way at all times, in all phases of his life. 2 left hands right to the chin, neither one really doing much damage, but just disturbing Roberto Duran. There's a left hand as Duran backed out of there. And once more, the legs of Roberto Duran do not look real strong.
But Duran is now just using experience now.
End of round 5 once more. I would have to say it was a round that belonged to Benitez.
That might have been the most convincing round yet. He has Duran almost in retreat. Every time Duran tries to come to him, he makes him pay for it, and therefore Benitez is not eager to come to him as much as he'd like to. Duran has been getting hit by too many lead right hands for a man who is a great fighter. Here's another one. A little high on the cheekbone. But a great fighter isn't supposed to get hit by those punches, is he, Carlos?
That's right. I think he's very slow tonight. He just doesn't look impressive, and now he looks frustrated besides the fact that he's very slow in the ring.
Come on. Stand still. Don't let this bum lick you. Don't let this fucking bum lick you.
You might have heard Ray Arcel there. Don't let this bum lick you, but that bum is licking him right now.
That's true.
Sage words from an 82-year-old.
Okay, step back. Step back.
Benitez has been in command almost from the opening bell. His punches have been the crisper. They have done the most damage, and Duran is fighting like a frustrated fighter right now. Pretty much a case of the spirit willing, but the flesh, if not weak, uncooperative.
Benitez is starting to make Duran reach for his punches. And this is exactly what he wants Duran to do, so he can counter with an overhand right.
That was something Angelo Dundee, I know, said to you. You don't want to lunge at him.
You can't afford to lunge, Bird, because the guy is able to come back with something.
Roberto Duran by Wilfred Benitez, and those have just got to hurt. Benitez missed that right hand that time. One of the few punches in this fight that he has missed, and referee Richard Green tells Duran to keep his punches up.
You know, as the rounds progress, go by, Duran seems to be getting weaker.
He just looks slow, and the fire just does not seem to be there.
Again, Benitez is trying to set his man up for that overhand right. And what he's doing, he's baiting. He's throwing the left uppercut and left hook.
This is round 6. It has been Benitez's fight. I'm quite certain, unless judges are seeing a very different fight than we are. Pace has slowed down a bit here in the 6th round. Benitez content to wait for Duran. And Duran, he's making Duran look like an awkward fighter right now. Not that Duran is exactly a symphony to begin with, but Benitez just keeps him off balance. And here's a right hand in the legs of Wilfred Benitez that time. And once again, a left hand by Duran. And Duran has turned things around with 2 punches very quickly as time ticks down to the 6th round. And let's see if that doesn't lift the man psychologically. It was a booming right hand.
Every time Duran is able to land a big punch, Bird, he'll come back.
And Benitez scores with a right hand of his own. And a whistling right hand to end the 6th round. Maybe the best round of the fight.
This is a long fight, and there's still fight left in the old master. It remains to be seen what kind of an impact that punch has in the following rounds in terms of how it might change Benitez's strategy and how it might keep Duran alive. Let's take a look at that right hand punch. There it is. It was a little bit high.
It was a little bit high on the head, and I don't think it really hurt Benitez because he got hit with a left hook there again. But you know, like you said, the old master, they come in little flashes now, and it's not constant. He pulls 1 or 2 out, and every 2 rounds or so. And that's not the Duran we're used to seeing.
But by the same token, he did need something to happen in this fight to wake him up, to give him hope, and perhaps that was it.
And the simple fact is, Benitez can be knocked down. He has been knocked down on more than one occasion. In fact, 3 times in one fight by Bruce Curry. And a right hand very quickly by Duran. And Duran seems to be a little bit more confident now. At least he knows he can hurt his man.
But Duran's not as frustrated now coming out from the 7th round as he was in the earlier rounds, mainly because he landed that big punch. And he thought it did some damage. I think the only one who can really tell you is Benitez himself.
Well, there was no question that Benitez's legs went with the right hand.
when he lands a punch, his hands actually feel like stone. Very heavy-handed punch.
And you can hear the force. There's a left hand on the side of the head of Benitez, but Benitez does not take a backward step.
Neither fighter can afford to become frustrated because they'll be in for a lot of trouble.
That right hand missed. The left hand underneath. No damage to Benitez by Duran. And Benitez snaps the head of Duran back with a right uppercut in close quarters. Duran now managing to hold his own when he gets Benitez in the corner. He did score with the left hand there. Benitez is not hurt. And Benitez, once again, not taking his man to the center of the ring.
And what you have to realize, Benitez is an expert against the ropes, and he rides with the punch.
Benitez getting the better of this exchange. Most punches missed.
He doesn't take the full impact of a punch.
That punch missed. Not much damage, a lot of activity, not much damage. There's a left hand on the nose of Duran. Duran does not back up. And another left hand, two left hands. Duran says, no, I'm not hurt, comes right back at Benitez. And the fire seems to be coming back in Duran a little bit. It's a defiance almost. Could be an ill-advised defiance, but nonetheless a defiance.
Both fighters seem to become a little arm weary now.
Yeah, there's not been a lot of damage done, even though there's been a lot of action. That was a right hand that did hurt Duran. Duran is hurt. He comes right back after Benitez, but that is an instinctual reaction. Duran was hurt by that right hand.
It seems to be a cut across Duran's left eye.
The left eye, and it is bleeding reasonably seriously. End of round 7.
Benitez went back to his corner with a big grin and with a slash with his glove across his eye, smiling because he knows that Duran is in serious trouble with that kind of a cut. Let's take a look and see how serious that cut is. That was by far the best round of the fight.
That's true. Duran seemed to catch that fire, and he was on top of Benitez the whole round. Benitez was countering very well, and they were kind of exchanging evenly there. And then a right-hand uppercut, I think, caused the cut.
You all right?
Well, if you're enjoying this fight, we have even more boxing coming up on HBO. It all happens Monday, February 15th, live from Reno, Nevada. The man on my right, Sugar Ray Leonard, making his first title defense as undisputed champion against Lightning Bruce Finch. He is the number 5 ranked contender, and he is the NABF welterweight champion. We'll have a translation of that in scant moments. North American Boxing Federation, that's it. Figured it out. So now, Duran's corner will have to do something about stopping that cut. It is right above the eye, and it is in an area that will generally bleed rather freely.
Well, at this point, I don't think it's a serious cut, fortunately for Roberto Duran.
And we'll see if that changes the tactics of Roberto Duran if he doesn't feel he has to go after it. It has not started bleeding again here.
Duran had the right thing in mind the last round when he started coming back.
And now, the left hand snaps the head of Duran back, and the blood once more comes from the eye of Roberto Duran, and a right hand scores. And I don't think he saw that punch. Bleeding is not serious at the moment. And again, in close quarters, and Benitez is content to fight the fight that way. Left hook, but not with a lot on it, thrown by Roberto Duran, the best punch of that exchange. And no blood showing on the face of Duran, so his corner has, at least for the moment, stemmed the flow. That was a lunging right hand that had absolutely nothing on it. Duran trying to measure Benitez, but that is not an easy thing to do. And Benitez with a left hand that scored. 2 to the stomach, 1 to the head.
What's happened now? The head's beginning to collide now.
And that was a lunging left hand that just caught the nose of Roberto Duran.
Okay, let's have it.
again, Benitez kind of back on that right leg. It's a defensive posture, but Benitez is an outstanding counterpuncher. Once more, the confidence seems to have risen in Wilfred Benitez. There's a right hand, and that hurt Duran. Duran backs out of there momentarily. Benitez not looking for the kill. When he gets the one good punch in, he does not get careless.
Step back, step back.
Again, Duran really unable to measure Wilfred Benitez here. We've come down to the end of round 8. It has been a slow round, if you will, based on the action of the last couple. None of those punches doing a lot of damage as we come to the end of the 8th round here at Caesars Palace.
We've been commenting here about Duran, and the focus naturally is on him, but let's give plenty of credit to Benitez. He's a very good fighter, and he's probably fighting the fight of his life here, and Duran, perhaps as far back as he's gone, would still beat a lot of fighters right now, but he's in there with a lot of fighters.
Yes, he is. I think that he could still beat a lot of fighters, but Benitez isn't a really extraordinary fighter defensively and counterpuncher. And there's a lot of noise going on in Duran's corner right now. Let's see if I can listen to what they're saying.
Who's gonna win this fight, man? No rubber, right?
All right.
Please, move and punch. Muévete y pega. Mueve y pega. Gana la pelea, chico. No, vete para atrás.
Move and punch, don't back out of the clinch. That was what Ray Arcel said.
So let's see if Duran follows the advice of his 82-year-old handler, who has been around the track many more times than once. That was a pretty good left hand by Benitez right there, and it got Duran out of there. And Benitez again now is starting to dictate the tempo of the fight. This is the 9th round.
Benitez is starting to throw Duran's rhythm off by bouncing up and down. He's starting to pick his pace up.
Benitez fighting a very intelligent fight. He's really not been the same fighter 2 rounds in a row. And the problem with the laces now, so we will stop the time for just a moment. And Richard Green will take Benitez over into his corner, and they'll have to tape up the laces.
They're yelling from the corner of Duran for him to move from side to side.
Well, which is, of course, the strategy that you used in large part.
That was the key. Side to side, lateral movement.
Benitez fighting, as you mentioned, a very intelligent fight. Would you not think, Ray?
Oh, without question, bro, because he utilizing the ring. I mean, his footwork has become a major asset in this particular fight. It's been the key to the fight.
That was Benitez's father, who you saw taping down the gloves. He is his trainer. He is the man in the corner. He had 3 other brothers who were fighters. None is any longer.
Again, as I stated earlier, Benitez's footwork has been the key, along with his hand speed. His ability to throw punches inside to get away without the other opponent being able to connect.
Gets his punches off very quickly and effectively. Doesn't miss a lot of punches. Doesn't waste a lot of punches. And it is amazing how he fights to the caliber of his competition. He does not at all resemble the fighter that we saw here, as you mentioned, beating Carlos Santos. He just seems to fight as well as he has to fight. And he has to fight well tonight to beat Roberto Duran. Duran has nothing to apologize for so far. As you mentioned, it's just a case of the spirit willing and the flesh being a little bit weak. A right hand, and that sends Benitez back into the rope. But once again, Ray, it's one punch.
Yes, but Duran, he doesn't have the snap, because ordinarily, if Duran hits you with a good punch, he tends to rock you. And one punch is not going to just put Benitez, get him in serious trouble.
And again, the key is to watch the opponent's legs, and Benitez's legs did not go at all. It was a good right hand, but it was one punch. It was not followed up, and it did not appear to slow Benitez down.
Benitez should be moving again. I think he thinks Duran's a little bit too weak for him, but again, he should to play cool and keep Duran in the center ring and use his boxing skills.
We mentioned his father has said that he has a tendency to forget about that every now and then. There's a right hand again that scores by Duran, but again Duran can't follow it up as Benitez gets out of there and the blood starts to come from the eye, and I believe also possibly over the bridge of the nose, and there's a right hand by Benitez. I believe Duran may be cut in more than one place right now. This corner had managed to stop the bleeding for the last couple of rounds, and now it shows again.
Let's go to Duran's corner here and see what's doing with his cuts. I don't think they're dangerous cuts at this point, but the blood does tell us who is behind in this fight. An unusual thing happened at the end of that round, Palomino. Again, something that tells us about the fight, where Benitez just shoved Duran into the ropes, and Duran, although he bounced off the ropes a little bit, he took it. He didn't come back at him.
I noticed that right in the beginning, that he didn't have the physical strength to be able to move Benitez around, and Benitez, on the other hand, has been able to push him around, and you know, he's not used to being pushed around.
We'll see here if we can catch a glimpse of the right hand that landed early in the round. It was just a grazing blow to the point of the chin and then down on the chest.
Seconds out.
So Roberto Duran comes out still seeking his moment. Incidentally, this is the first time that Duran has been a challenger since 1972, which is kind of interesting. He has been a champion in one sort or another, even in your first fight. Unaccustomed role, and it may be a role that if he is to continue, although he has said he won't. There's a right hand. Once more you saw the legs of Duran go. Overhand right by Benitez, and a left hand behind it.
So Benitez is trying to knock Duran out, because normally Benitez would use that jab first, but he's throwing all big punches.
Well, there's no question as to the validity of Benitez's right hand. Ask Maurice Hope. Those punches hurt. There was no question about it. Again, the legs of Roberto Duran wobbled with the first one.
As long as Benitez continues to box this way, he's able to frustrate Duran more and more. And I'm seeing signs of frustration in Roberto Duran's eyes.
Duran just unable to get things going. Again, a case of the mind knowing exactly what it has to do and the body just not cooperating. Right hand a little bit short as again Benitez just got his chin out of there. Three punches by Duran, but none doing any damage. Again, the bleeding has stopped over the eye of Roberto Duran. His corner doing a pretty good job so far as the cuts are concerned. Now just a trickle of blood shows along the bridge of the nose of Roberto Duran.
Again, Benitez had Duran reaching. And Duran should not be reaching against the caliber of fight Benitez is, because Benitez is a superior counterpuncher.
Once more, Benitez now stalking Duran. Both men might have lost about a half a step here. They don't look quite as agile as they were earlier in the fight. Duran kind of half smiles at Benitez.
You know, I keep counting my right hand with Benitez to come through again, because I know he constantly sets Duran up.
And there it is right there, as advertised. 25 seconds less remaining. And a left hand, but Duran was already going back. That punch did not hurt.
Again, a setup.
And the thing is, it's not only a question of Benitez setting it up, it's that he knows the proper time to throw it, and he has rarely missed with it.
Talked about the frustration in the eyes of Duran. I thought I saw perhaps a little bit more resignation and frustration, Carlos, that suddenly he realizes that it just isn't there.
That's true. I keep noticing that he keeps sighing through the round. It's like he's telling him, it's like he's thinking, I can't do it. I keep trying, but I can't. He keeps sighing, I keep noticing that, and that's a sign that he's just very frustrated, or resignation, like you say, that knowing that
it isn't giving up. I don't think there's any give up in Duran in this fight. He's just in with a wonderful fighting craftsman.
That's true. And Benitez is, I consider one of the hardest guys to hit, especially to find. And Duran is finding that I think is equally as tough.
Benitez has a way of making his opponent look bad, and he never looks bad.
Well, he's so smooth. Gajala has a lot of showmanship involved, and he displays his talent so well.
His father says that in order to motivate Wilfred Benitez, he can't let Benitez think he's going to win the fight. He always tells him you're going to lose the fight. I guess trainers are like that.
Not mine.
I heard yours say that to you one time. His exact words, as I recall, were, "You're blowing it, kid."
Okay, let's have it.
That's to give you a little boost.
I think maybe his father told Benitez too many times he was going to lose in the fight with you, Ray.
I'm glad he did, Carlos.
Meanwhile, Benitez still continues to have things his own way here against Roberto Duran in the 11th round. And now, in fact, as he takes a pretty good shot that time right to the nose, it backs him up, but again, didn't really seem to hurt him.
It still wasn't a solid shot. On occasion, Duran has landed some punches, but there hasn't been the power behind. There's no leverage Duran is able to get behind his punches.
Duran's hope now, I would have to think, would be, if I can't be good, perhaps I can be lucky. Halfway through round 11 now. Benitez again, very poised.
Benitez is working Duran's body more and more now, especially in his late rounds, because I'm quite sure maybe he senses a bit of fatigue in Roberto Duran, or sense of weakness.
Duran does seem to be hanging on a little bit more than he did in this round. This is the 11th round. Pace is slowed a little bit here in this round as well. But Benitez has got to feel, I'm not going to get careless. I've got the fight pretty much in hand right now. Get Larry Merchant at the end of this round perhaps to look at his own card and talk about how he's seen the fight. And there's a good right hand by Benitez. An uppercut misses. Duran got out of there on the second punch.
That right hand hurt Duran because he did not retaliate at all.
Again, Benitez just continues to stalk his man. Looking more and more the part of a tired fighter. Benitez is quicker and stronger right now and less tired than Duran, and that combination is a hat trick that does the challenger no good at all. That is the end of the 11th round, and once more it looks more and more, Larry Merchant, like it is the fight of the champion.
Well, right now on my card, Duran has to win by a knockout. There might not be a harder guy in the world to knock out than Benitez, but I expect to see something happen here. I expect that Duran is not just going to take this. He may go out on his cross. He's going to make some sort of an effort. That would be more in keeping with the character of Duran as a fighter as we know it.
Well, he has some amends to make without question from the famous fight against Sugar Ray Leonard, where he just said no mas. Of course, everybody knows that. So even if he loses this fight, he's got to at least give enough of a showing of himself to go out with his head high.
That's what I think that's what he's going to try and do, at least go out with pride.
So Duran is the first one to the center of the ring. This is round 12. Benitez, yellow trunks, Duran in the blue trunks. And Duran simply said is just going to have to get.
Step back, step back, step back.
It is not unprecedented for Benitez to be knocked down in the late rounds. To wit, Sugar Ray Leonard put him down in round 15. But Duran just seems to be swinging mostly with his arms now. He's not getting his feet really into his punches either. He seems off balance, seems to be lunging, and throwing mostly arms.
Well, Duran's definitely not into this fight. Although if he's able to land a punch like I stated earlier, then he'll get back into the fight. But just temporarily. Duran fights in moderation. A fight of Roberto Duran's caliber, especially as many fights, impressive fights that he's had in the past, he knows fully well when his time is pretty much over.
Duran has got to start feeling the sands of time, start to shift a little bit on him. And again, a case of the mind saying, I know I have to do this, and the body just not being able to react as it once did. And now a little blood showing on the left eye of Benitez. It is in virtually the same place as the cut on Duran's eye, and alongside the eye is where it looks to be. Does not seem to be the type of cut that could get into the eye, but nonetheless a cut on the left eye of Benitez.
Benitez comes in with that left hook to the body and to the head.
And now Benitez may feel he's got to be doing a little more business here. The cut is not serious, at least in terms of impairing his vision. It has brought about some concern, however, from his supporters. No blood shows on the face of Duran, who was cut in the 6th round.
You know, it's amazing, Barry. Both of these men are really going at it. Benitez coming out on top without question, but they're fighting for one reason, to fight Sugar Ray Leonard.
There's no question about that. That is what each man is after. This is a championship fight, but I really believe it's fair to say that this championship is incidental to what the future holds.
Oh, yes, it is. It's just a stepping stone, pretty much.
Fighting Sugar Ray Leonard, I don't say this because you're sitting alongside of me, but fighting Sugar Ray Leonard is a money fight. And that's the name of the game. Right hand that time by Duran.
Duran was hurt very seriously. That overhand right by Benitez rocked Duran. Duran stumbled back.
Benitez, of course, with that right hand, not Duran. Duran was the man that was hurt. And again, a right hand. And here's a right hand by Duran. Benitez says, I'm not hurt. Come on after me. End of the round.
Benitez punch with about 45 seconds left in the round was the hardest punch of the fight. One of the only times I've ever seen Duran take a step or two back.
Yes, it is. His knees buckled. I thought he was going to go down there for a while, and he was able to hold himself up. We'll see it here.
That was the punch at the very end of the round. As you saw, Benitez motioned him to come to him, saying, you haven't hurt me. It was a nice punch, but it wasn't as good as this punch that we're going to see coming up here. You know, that was the same punch from a different angle. We haven't got the big punch that Benitez put on Duran. Duran is desperate now. He's coming to Benitez. Benitez knows it, and Benitez is going to load up and hope to hit him on the way in.
So Roberto Duran running out of time here. 13th round. He has 9 minutes of fighting left. The crowd is on its feet in support of him. Duran has simply said, just got to go get him. It's that simple. The cut on the face of Benitez has been closed for the moment. It caused him no problem at the end of that round.
Both men land solid punches that last round, but I think Benitez's punch was a little overhand right was a little more damaging. Although Duran, that was the best punch I've seen Duran throw throughout this fight.
Duran still seems to be a little bit cautious. There's a thin line between being cautious and having respect. And Duran does not want to get careless. He has been hurt by Benitez. And so even though he needs the one big punch here to at least set his man up, he does not want to be careless in trying to get it.
Duran doesn't have his mouthpiece in his mouth.
I think you're right, actually. 13th round. The fight has belonged to Benitez. And I don't think there's any question but that Roberto Duran is going to have to knock his man out to win the Super Welterweight Championship. And with that, of course, a chance at a big money fight if he has his brothers with Sugar Ray Leonard. Again, Duran lunging a little bit and no damage being done at all. So another round virtually has gone by for Roberto Duran without finding that one punch that he desperately has to have.
During the round, there was screaming from Duran's corner to go after Benitez. Maybe they see something that Duran doesn't.
Well, Duran sees it, but he knows the price he's going to have to pay to get there. There's not... For some reason, Duran is not wearing a mouthpiece. Now he is taking the mouthpiece.
They're telling him to throw the right hand.
Ray Arcel is telling him you can still win the fight, you can still win the fight. I'm not sure Roberto Duran believes it.
So we come to round 14. And Duran has just got to go get Wilfred Benitez. And Benitez has not been easy to find. Neither man showing any blood now after both men have been cut alongside the eye. Benitez continues to keep him just off balance enough.
That's exactly what it seems like. Duran's trying to wait for one big punch. And it's a little too late. He needs more than one big punch. He needs a knockout.
Benitez is not the kind of guy that you're going to knock down with one punch.
So Benitez can afford to lay back like this in this boxer. Work his left jab, score some points. Duran needs to go inside and become even more aggressive, even though fatigue has set in because they both men look very impressive. Duran needs to go to work.
Well, eavesdropping on the card of Larry Merchant. Larry, you gave Duran, I believe, just 1 or 2 rounds.
I've given him 2 rounds so far.
So there seems little question that Duran is just going to have to go after it, and he's just been unable to do that. He has not embarrassed himself tonight. Duran has said that if he does not beat Wilfred Benitez, this will be his last fight. He also said that after his fight with you, so whether that is going to be the case remains to be seen. A little blood again showing over the eye now of Roberto Duran. Benitez just doing what he has to do to keep his man off him, and he has managed to do that very well. And Duran is fighting like a tired fighter right now. Benitez appears to be the stronger of the two. Duran just kind of leaning on Wilfred Benitez now as the pace has slowed appreciably here in the last couple of rounds. Inside the 30-second mark now of round 14. And Duran scores with a couple of punches, but again, Benitez is not going anywhere.
Tries to rally, and Benitez stops his rhythm with some of his punches.
So a case seemingly of too little too late for Roberto Duran. And we come to the end of the 14th round. There are 3 minutes of boxing left for Roberto Duran to go and get it.
You know, Duran may be, it seems to me like he's loading up, trying to land that one big one, you know, and I think that maybe he's doing that because Benitez gives you a sense that he can be hit very easy. I know when I fought him, I started to load up and throwing single punches punches because he seems like he's very easy to hit. And then you throw the one punch and he's not there, you know.
This may be the last round that we'll ever see Roberto Duran fight. He's one of the best there ever was.
There's a lot of screaming in Duran's corner. They're arguing about a water. Who's going to give him the water?
An argument you would not think of prime import as we come to the 15th round. They touch gloves. And now we will see what Roberto Duran has left, if anything. Crowd on its feet. Duran, Duran. Benitez pretty much just has to stay away.
That's all he has to do. Benitez just has to stay away. Because Duran's going to try anything. Any and everything.
Duran, a tired fighter without question, still leaning on Benitez even though he has just got to go get a knockout. Mostly gloves, not much damage. Crowd comes alive, but there was little damage. Duran's corner exhorting him to go after him, and once more Benitez comes up with a couple of punches of his own, and that sends Duran backward. Seem to be talking to each other as Duran again fighting without a mouthpiece here. I think if Duran had his choice, he'd also fight without gloves.
Might have been a closer fight.
And again, it is Benitez who is getting the better of it. A left hand by Benitez and a right hand by Benitez, and Duran just seems to be able only to lunge and lead. Two more by Benitez, and Duran is now unable to score at all. An uppercut and a left hand, and the crowd comes alive. Benitez doing the damage. Benitez provides a moving target even when his back is in the corner.
Well, this is Benitez's resting place. He gets inside, he's able to score at will.
A right hand and a left score by Benitez, and Duran is on wobbly legs. Three left jabs. It is all Benitez here. It is all Benitez. The fight has been all Benitez. And Duran backs off and comes right back to the corner. Right hand that time by Duran did get in on Benitez. Let's see if Benitez stays out of it. No, right into the corner. And again, Duran tries to measure Benitez, but again, Benitez gets out of harm's way. And Benitez says, come on, give me your best shot. But the best shot may just not be in the fists of Roberto Duran tonight. Benitez, in fact, may have taken Duran's best shot already. Again, Duran over us directly here. And unable really to come up with the punch that he needs. The fight is over. Duran says, get out of here. Now Duran wants to fight. Benitez went over to try to congratulate him. Duran says, go away. Don't bother me. And now Benitez is saying, come on, with a big smile on his face. Benitez, virtually without question, is the winner of the fight.
Most definitely, and that was very unsportsmanlike on Roberto Duran's part, not to have shaken his hand.
Benitez getting a ride here on the shoulders of one of his handlers. That is his brother, I believe. And the Puerto Rican flag back in the ring even before the official decision is announced. Roberto Duran wanted no part of Wilfred Benitez when the fight was over. And Duran is now raised on the shoulders of his handlers and gives the victory gesture. The one thing I think you have to say, Carlos, is Duran did himself proud tonight.
Yes, he did. He tried hard. He fought his heart out. He just didn't have it anymore. Just didn't have it at that 154-pound weight limit. He was 152, but just didn't seem to be able to carry that weight and have to keep his quickness and his snap on his punches.
You cannot turn your back on the career, of course, of Roberto Duran. He came into the fight with 74 victories in 76 fights, 55 of those victories coming by the knockout route. And tonight, he was just in against